This evening, we have Adrianna Tan, who joins us from the city of San Francisco. She's the Director of Program Management for Digital Initiatives. Super exciting work that she's been doing in terms of the impact that Singaporeans been making in enabling information to reach out to the community out here in the Bay Area. So we're very excited to have her share with us some feedback and advice for what we should be doing to be prepared for all these different emergencies that, frankly speaking, it's almost become a way of life for us since March. Adrianna, welcome.
Hi, thanks. I'm going to share my screen now.
Perfect. I'm going to stop sharing.
Yep. So some of you were here when I spoke a couple of weeks ago regarding my work. So I'm actually the Director of Product Management, and I lead a team of PMs. A few months ago, well, about a year ago, I started working as the city's head of product management, and so I've learned quite a few things. At the beginning, I think I had to do some compulsory training where I was like, oh, as a Singaporean, I don't know a lot about things like what happens in an earthquake or what I should put in my bag. And I actually had to sit through mandatory training for that, so I feel like that's pretty helpful. And so one of the key things to note, and I think this applies to anyone in the Bay Area, or maybe even in California, not just in San Francisco, which is that SF.gov, which is my team's core product, is a one-stop shop for information about anything that's important that's happening right now. So all the stuff about reopening, all the things about different services to apply for if you want to build a permit, if you want to get a grant for your small business. My team handles all of that stuff, and we make sure that it's accessible, that it's available in all the major languages, and that people with different disabilities can also access this information. So SF.gov will always have the latest info straight from the mayor's side, because we have team members who are stationed in the Emergency Operations Center. So the moment the announcement is made, instead of reading the whole legal thing, the site will always have easy to digest information in English, in Chinese, in Filipino, and Spanish. So make sure you bookmark that. Yeah, so as mentioned before I joined the city, I did not know about a lot of city services. I didn't know about 311. I didn't know where to find info about anything, where to report something. So now that I've been sort of in the thick of it, I know a little bit more now. I'm still learning. But there is a lot of hyper-local information, which, stuff like ready.gov and weather.gov is great, but it's at a federal level, and it's sometimes it can be a lot more slow-moving compared to the hyper-local stuff. Sometimes you just need to know where is the nearest shelter near my home, and that's where the local information comes in. So some of the things that I suggest would be, sign up for alert.sf. I'll jump into that later and tell you how to do that. Bookmark sf.gov. Pack an emergency bag, also known as a go bag, and become familiar with 311 and review the site called sf72.org. So I'll tell you how to do each of these. So Alert SF is a service that's free. All of the latest, most important information about anything in San Francisco is going to happen here. So you can text your zip code to this number, or you can sign up to alertsf.org. If you're somewhere else, in LA, this stuff is probably not really important for you, but it's helpful in that if there's stuff like wildfires or earthquakes, you can actually see what's happening here. There's also a Twitter account that's pretty good that you can follow for the latest stuff. But this stuff usually includes air quality, earthquakes, hot weather information, as well as traffic information. One time I was walking down Mission and 14th, and there was someone got run over, and pretty much 2 minutes later I got a text when I was on the scene that said avoid this area. So they're actually very, very, very quick. And then again, sf.gov is for all the latest information about everything essential. You can see here that there are topics like what's the latest on reopening, what is the latest on working during the pandemic, what's the latest on healthcare stuff, where do you get tested, all this stuff is there. And so more services are coming online, and so my team is working really hard to put on new things all the time. And again, there will always be like the latest announcements because we have people at the Emergency Command Center whose jobs it is to like literally translate like legalese and jargon into English that is like readable at grade 5 and below, because we believe very much in like distilling content into the bare minimum to reduce like anxiety and panic. So this is what I learned, and I've also like added a little bit more about like what I'm packing personally. So it really depends on like the county. Sometimes you if you go to like the LA site, I think they tell you that it's like the 6 P's, like people, and then like papers, and then I don't know what the next 4 P's are, but this is sort of more or less the same. So for me, this is like my most essential things, which is to like designate a backpack or a duffel bag just as your go bag. And I guess for people who are living close to the wildfires, this is especially important. I live in a city, so I feel like I've been a little bit lax about this, but I probably should get on it pretty soon. You should put at least some water and some non-perishable food. Flashlights are really important. And also a first aid kit, medication, if there's stuff that you need. You know, in the insurance system here, it's sometimes difficult to get like more than a month's supply of like medication, but you know, just try to get as much as you can. Sometimes if I go back to Singapore, or if I go to like Malaysia or Thailand, I try to buy like a lot of the generic stuff and I bring it back here, because like at least I know that I have like a bunch of stuff that I can like bring with me in the case of an emergency. And then toiletries, accessories, and I have a dog and a cat, and so like food for them is definitely important. I also recently bought a crank operated radio that also serves as like a battery pack for like charging phones. It's only like $15. So you can use it as a solar thing, and you can also like crank it, and you can also put a battery, and you can also use it to charge a battery, and it's also a flashlight. So it's like super, super cool. And I like gadgets, so I just like collecting stuff like that. So, and then also put like a few days worth of clothes, some towels. And if you look at like REI or like Sports Basement, a lot of like the camping stuff, like, you know, the ultralight camping stuff, they're very relevant and useful for like situations like these, because you definitely don't want to like bring like a towel, like a regular cotton towel around, because like it's heavy and then it soaks water. It takes a long time to like evaporate. So I have these like camping towels that fold down into like really small sizes, and they like get dry like in like 20 minutes or something. And then whistles, and then there's local maps. You can either get a waterproof map, but they're a little bit like expensive. So what you can get is like also, again, one of these camping things, like these like waterproof seals, and you can just put like regular maps inside. And then for me, I think I would feel very lost without like my phones or my other devices. So I have like various like battery packs. I would recommend at least like 10,000 mAh to start. That should charge your phone like at least 4 times over. And then, you know, during some of the crisis in like New York City with the power outage and all that stuff, people also had like crank operated like battery packs, but I haven't really gone into that yet. And if you have a car, you can also get stuff that, you know, like some solar generating stuff. But you have to sort of think about the trade-off between like the weight and like what mode of transportation you have. Walkie Talkies, I think, would be also essential, so that you can communicate with your loved ones, even if there's no like cellular coverage. So that would pretty much cover tier 1, which to me is like what you need to like get to safety immediately. And then tier 2 would be obviously all the paperwork is super important. I think the last bit I want to emphasize, which is that we're all very reliant on like our phones for like our contact list, but you should probably write a list of like key phone numbers. Pretty much all of the state and like city and like even federal like recommendations say to like write doctors' names, designate like an out-of-state contact, like so someone in Singapore or someone in another state. Write the names of your family members and your coworkers in like all important numbers, because you don't want to be like roughing through like documents when you can have it all at once. So yeah, this is really important too. And then this is probably an extra layer of precaution. I would like get like a cheap wallet, put some like cash in it, just because like you also don't want to assume that you're gonna be able to get to an ATM quickly. I would also put like an extra debit card. I would maybe even go to whole like yard and like, you know, get a special account just for that. Like I have my Wells Fargo, but I don't like that. I can't go to like every single ATM. So I have like a Schwab account, for example, where I can pull cash out of anywhere. It even works internationally. I don't have any like ATM fees. So that's really cool. And then I just want to, you know, put enough money to just in case like have to like buy tickets home for my entire family. I would travel with like 2 pets, which would be really, really hard. So there's an extra layer of planning there. I've also become like an expert of like flying pets to and from different countries. So if you're interested in that, I can also share more about how I've done that.
What kind of pets do you have, Adrianna?
I have a dog and a cat, and you'll see them at the end of this presentation. But
Wow.
my dog came from Singapore, and she came here via Helsinki, and then she got like an EU pet passport as well.
Wow, cool.
Mm. So 311 is really, it's a really cool service. I'm not sure why I didn't know about that before, but it's like a 24-hour hotline where you can call them and ask for service for like pretty much anything. And you can also like ask for help. Like if you want to know where to get tested, you can call them and go, hey, I'm in like the Mission, where's like the nearest like testing site, and like what do I need, what insurance do you take. They're pretty well trained in like telling you all that stuff, and if not, they'll like call somebody and make sure that you get the info that you need. Some people sort of, I think, use it to do stuff like report like homeless people, and I think that's kind of like awful because like, you know, people just really need to, yeah, have somewhere to sleep. So don't use 311 to report homeless people, just use it for other stuff. But you know, in the case of an emergency, I think they'll also be able to like tell you like where's the nearest shelter, what to look out for, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really cool. I think 311 is like a nationwide thing. So I guess wherever you are, you'll get 311. It'll just be manned by different people, depending on the county they're in. And then lastly, I think SF72.org. I mean, one of the things I'm really kind of like frustrated with, even when I work here, is that like I feel like there's so many things, but they are not really like combined in one place. And so the goal of like SF.gov is really to try to do that, right? Because before SF.gov came about, there were more than 200 city websites. And if you can imagine, during the first couple of days of shelter in place, if there were 200 sites and no central SF.gov, it would be very, very difficult to find the relevant information. So hopefully we can sort of move towards a world in which a lot of this stuff is consolidated, but a lot of that has to do with how the city government is extremely decentralized. And so everyone's sort of doing their own thing. But SF72.org is pretty cool. It's predominantly map-based, but there's also a feature where they tell you what to pack. So some people are asking about like earthquakes, which is probably the most relevant thing for San Francisco. And so if you go on SF72.org, they let you like do things like print like a list of what you need to get ready, as well as what you need to do. And so from what I can see, the key things to note about like earthquakes is just to like drop down under anything sturdy, and also like avoid things that might like fall off the wall. Like if you have a bookshelf or like a TV that's mounted to the wall, you probably don't want to be close to it. But if you have like a sturdy table or something like that, you just want to like go down under it and like just huddle there until the quake at least is over. Some things in the chat, yeah. Walkie Talkies, are they required for licenses required? No, I don't think so. You can just get them from like REI. Really depends on the frequency you're on, but there's definitely a consumer frequency. So definitely go onto SF72.org. It tells you what you need to do to get ready for every type of emergency. And this map in particular, it's a little bit hard to use, but which is why I would like encourage you to like look at it already and like figure out the controls. But I was able to like click on this thing, this like layer thing, and to be able to turn on and on like layers that could tell me things like where the shelters for disaster, and so you can see that's all the S, and also where all the like, public bathrooms are. And where some of the power outages are happening. So a lot of things that are relevant to a disaster you can get on SF72. And from what I can see, they've also said that in the case of an actual emergency, SF72 is going to be the like source of truth in terms of latest updates, and also like information from the mayor, and also like information that's crowdsourced. So they've put all of that stuff there. Yeah, pit stops are like public portable restrooms, mostly for homeless people. Yeah. And so some people have asked what happens during an emergency. And so I was telling Jasmine that, my knowledge of all this stuff is like solely theoretical because I haven't really been in one. But I think it really depends on like what kind of emergency it is, right? So if you're close to a wildfire, I think the most important thing you can do is to like evacuate when you hear the latest information. Like there's a difference, I think, between a warning and an order. And so once it gets to an order, you have to evacuate because like it's really, really like important that you do. So keep an eye on like the most important messages that are coming. I read a little bit about some people not evacuating because they've like seen messages on like social media that say stuff like, oh, actually these fires are not that bad. It's just like a conspiracy by the liberal media so that, you can leave your house and then like Antifa will like come and like take your stuff, but just don't listen to any of that. Just keep an eye on important messages. If you are trapped, for example, then, you would have to call 911 and let people know that you're inside because then they would know where to look. N95 masks would be a good idea if you're close to a wildfire. If you cannot get them, I think Monoprice has like a lot of like KN95 masks, which is slightly different, but it's according to the Chinese standard, which I guess is better than nothing, but I don't know that for sure. So yeah, and floods don't seem likely, but in this case, who knows what the future will bring. Everything has been happening lately, but it's important to know that, you should not, if you see flood water, you don't walk, swim, or drive in them. I have spent a lot of time living in developing countries with flooding, and I think electrocution is the biggest problem. And you also don't want to be trapped in a closed attic. So even though it's important to go to higher ground, so for example, if you're in a car and water is rising inside your car, you should go like, onto the roof as far as possible, or the roof of a house, but don't go into something enclosed where you might be trapped inside. Yeah, and then earthquakes, again, just follow that link and look at what to do. Again, I don't have personal experience with that, but it all seems to be avoid things that might drop on you, especially heavy things, and try to drop and cover and hold on. So if you click on the link, it actually tells you that if you're able-bodied, then you should do that. But if you have, like, for example, a wheelchair or like crutches or whatever, then you should do like something else that I don't know for sure. So there's a lot of information out there. So again, because I have pets, one of the things that I'm concerned about is that in the case of like an emergency, I might not have like a place to like go with them. And this has actually been a problem for the people who are evacuating right now. So there are some shelters that are pet friendly and some that are not. It's definitely like important to like make a note of that right now, so that you don't have to try to like find this information in the middle of like a very fast moving situation. And yeah, so this is us. That's the dog, and that's the cat, and that's my wife. And
The dog and the cat. Oh, that's cute. They're almost the same size, actually.
the cat is actually larger.
Wow, that is so
She's
cute.
an American-sized cat. Yeah.
That's amazing. She looks like she's got spirit, she's got attitude, right? Just even the way she looks at you in the camera.
Yeah.
This is
so apparently the text, the thing that you're supposed to text is 888-777. That's what people said in the chat.
Yeah.
I'll confirm it later, but that seems to be the number.
That is
so
very
remember
true.
to pack your bag right now.
Pack a bag. So, with all the stuff that you just kind of listed for us, the bag looks kind of huge. I mean, I have a family of 5. So this bag, it's more like maybe 2 suitcases, it would seem
So,
like.
So even before I came here, like in Singapore, I was a fan of this like bag brand called tombin.com. It's a brand from Seattle. And when I was telling my wife that we should like pack a bag to go, she was like, it has to be a Tombin bag because like it's a little bit expensive, but it lasts forever. And you can put a lot of things in it. Like if I go back home to Singapore for like a month, that's literally all I bring. It's just a backpack from this brand.
Wow.
And you can put everything in it.
So did you have food in there? It looked like it was a to-go bag, so you can get to a place of safety, but it didn't look like there was any food in there. I think you had some, oh yeah, you had water and non-perishable food. Yes, I see that.
Yeah, that's right.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me, I think canned food, like canned fish or whatever, is like pretty good. And I would be quite happy with it. The other day I went to Chinatown and I bought like canned pad thai, which would be smelly, but at least it would be tasty.
Mm-hmm. Just thank you for this. I think it's, helps us baseline, right? Some of these different items as well. I think as I go through the questions here, I just want to make sure that we're addressing some of those questions. Daryl asked about walkie talkies. It sounds like, as you mentioned, not, I don't think we need a license for them, at least a certain category of walkie talkies. Did you have more questions on that, Daryl, or is that, was that helpful?
No, I think my question is answered. I just wanted to know because, certain countries have, they're rather sticky about airways being jammed and all that. So you may require licenses and permits, but it doesn't seem to be the case for San Francisco. So we're fine.
Got it. Good to know. Thank you. And I think my son was telling me that Samsung phones have a walkie-talkie function. I'm not sure. Brian, are you still with us? Okay. Don't know. I think Kyle, maybe. I mean, one of you can comment on that. So Kyle says Samsung phones have an FM radio function. Sorry, not a walkie-talkie function. Got it. So that's the other thing, right? Sometimes we're super reliant on our cell phones. And I think there's a concern that sometimes when we have an emergency, we may not be able to access cell phone services.
Actually, if you have an Apple Watch, it actually also has a walkie-talkie function. And so you can just check up how to activate it. They actually recommend on the Apple site to use the Walkie Talkie app when you're shopping together. We've gone to different places.
Got it. Hey, that's a great tip. Dan is asking if canned food is going to be heavy.
Depends on how much you buy, right? So
suppose maybe we need a couple of meals before we get to the nearest school or emergency site.
I mean, Costco also has emergency food. If you go on Costco.com and look at emergency food, they sell the entire kit with all the food that will last 5 years and all the water that you need. It's probably going to be large, but it assumes that you have an automobile to carry that stuff with you, but I don't. But for me, I would because I'm quite a foodie, I would probably be miserable without decent tasting food. And so I have a list of specific foods that I would pack to at least help me keep my spirits high.
Got it. Yeah, Dan is suggesting food pouches that we had received in the Army. So I don't know how to buy some of that and whether that's palatable. But I think.
What about Adrianna? Online, you can just search emergency kit and see lots of ready-made bags or boxes of kits. Do you have any?
I mean, yeah. So again, I think a lot of that stuff is actually made for people in hurricane zones, and so it's for keeping it in your storeroom or your garage until a hurricane hits, right? So you're there physically and you can take the stuff, but I feel in the cases that are specific to California, it would just be heavy, right? And so it would not make a lot of sense to keep that stuff around. And so probably just assemble your own stuff.
It's a great point. And I think one of the things that's coming up in the chat window here is around off the grid chat apps, and you're recommending Mesh Network. What is that?
There are some types of chat infrastructure where, sorry, it's a lot of sound.
It sounds like an emergency in your background.
I mean, I live in a city center, so yeah, there are mesh network apps. I don't know the names of them off the top of my head, but they kind of work, I guess, to like Bluetooth, and so they don't require the internet to like connect with each other. So that's a good idea, but just make sure that everyone has battery pack so that you can like, you know, keep your batteries charged.
Has anyone had experience with Fire Chat or Serval Mesh, Signal Offline Messenger? I'm just doing a quick scan here.
You can also get like a solar panel. So this is brand like Anchor is a pretty good brand. So you can get like a solar panel that actually attaches to the backpack if you go back, and it works really well.
Got it. Got it. Wow. That certainly sounds really interesting. I've not tried any of these. I feel like we should probably test some of these things out and see which mesh actually works on our phone, right? I feel like this is a project for David Ho. David, you know, can you help us look into this, Mr. Mr. Social Network, and tell us which mesh we should be on as a community? What do you think?
It's the first time I'm hearing about the mesh network too.
Yeah.
Let me do some research. Adrianna, if you have anything to share with me, just feel free to let me know.
Yeah, I mean, actually, a lot of people who are protesting, they use these mesh apps because they don't want it to like go over the internet.
Oh.
So just look at what the people in Hong Kong and Belarus are using.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, we know we can't use WeChat and TikTok anymore soon. So we're going to look at alternatives. Very cool, David. Yes, please help us get on it because you're Mr. Social. Janice has a question here on what kind of water to buy. Janice, of course, as we all recall, was the pharmacist also, right? Janice, thanks for doing our first session on mask medication and COVID. So good question on water. Any advice, Adrianna?
So bottled water is always has that issue because you don't know the quality of plastic and stuff like that. So I would probably recommend that you get like a life straw. So you can, it's literally a straw, but it has a filtration system. So if you had to like drink water from like a river or something, it would be safe.
Wow, very cool. Certainly good advice there. You know, let's take a quick pause here and have Clarissa or the folks in Southern California share their earthquake experience. So that was 11:30 last night, yes, Clarissa?
I think it was 11:38.
Okay, 11:38.
Around there?
Yes.
Yeah, thereabout. But yeah, I was in the supermarket waiting for my lift when I felt it in my feet first, and I was like, wait, what, did a truck hit the building? And then I looked up and I saw the panels of the window like shaking, and it just didn't cross my mind that it was an earthquake until someone in the store shouted earthquake. And
wow.
And that's my very first experience with an earthquake, obviously. So it left an impression.
So you're in the store though, so it sounds like you had access to all your supplies.
Yeah, I live near USC because I go to USC, and there's like a big Ralph's on one of the corners, so that was pretty convenient.
Got it. Oliver, you're in the Irvine area, I recall, or something. Did you, I don't know if your mic's off and if you're with us, but did you experience the earthquake too? He might still be on mute, but certainly several of us in the SoCal region actually experienced it. And I think many of us would probably have been wondering, do we have our stuff with us? Are we ready to leave the house any point of time? My personal experience with earthquake was also a very quick sort of jolt, right? It's as though someone hit the building or hit the car. It just is this weird jolt. And then just to make it clear, there are a couple of little jolts after. So that was that weird earthquake feeling. And I think my kids are telling me when you experience something like that, what you need to do is to, as you mentioned, right, Adrianna, duck and find sort of a way to be safe, protect your head, drop, cover, and hold on, right, to protect your head. So that's actually really good advice as well for the immediate future. But how do we prepare? And I think those items that you have there is helpful. As for someone who's running a family with 5 others around me, you know, like with my mother-in-law and all that too, I feel like for insurance purposes, I've been advised to take photographs of everything I have in the house and then maybe upload all that I have, including my ID, into like a Dropbox or some kind of Google Drive. So I have electronic copies of it. This way I have photographic evidence when I'm actually trying to file for insurance claims. Have you heard anything like that before, Adrianna?
Yeah, so I mean, I've definitely heard that in a context of like hurricanes in the south, for people to like just take pictures like before and after so that they can like prove that it was definitely destroyed because of a natural disaster.
Yep, got it. And I think a lot of us try to put all our photographs as well up on these drives these days so that a lot of our memories are stored safely.
And even if you rent, look into renter's insurance because it would cover a whole bunch of stuff. Like even if someone stole your bicycle from outside your house, it would cover that. So, and then I think there's also fireproof like boxes and envelopes where you can put your items. And sometimes reading the Amazon reviews for those things are funny because someone would be like, you know, they did trial and error and they like tried to burn stuff. Some of them didn't work as well as others.
Got it. I have with me here my emergency radio that I got from I think actually one of our NPR donations. They do a lot of that, right? They do these drives and then they say, hey, you know, if you donate something, you get this radio. So we got this Eton emergency radio. I think we've tried to use it in camping. It does work, but it's a lot of work to actually get power out of this, actually. So I'm not much of a camper myself, an outdoor person, but maybe it's good to rehearse and test all our supplies, right? Make sure they're all working.
Yeah,
like
I think going camping is always a good idea to like try things out. Like if you can like get like a stove and stuff like that, then I think you'll be well fit.
I've been told we also need to have a tarp somewhere around to provide cover for ourselves. And I see in Daryl's messages there, is there a rule of thumb as to how much food and water we should prepare for in our kit? 3 to 5 days, perhaps?
I mean, for me, I think because we're here, like at least in the city, like I'm not having to drive like long distances like in the south or in Midwest. So I generally feel like the first couple of days would be enough. But again, you know, I don't drive, I don't have a car, and so like I wouldn't be able to carry some of this stuff anyway.
Got it. Yeah. And then I've just following down the messages here, you've posted as well 90 servings of food. This link that you can buy. I know it's Costco organic. Okay. I feel like we should try and taste these items sometimes because I worry that they don't taste good. And I know that maybe I shouldn't be so much of a connoisseur in an emergency, but at the same time, the food could be really bad. And
you can get the SAF stuff.
Does that taste better when you say SAF stuff?
I've tried it before. I think it's okay. Better than stuff here, I guess.
Got it. That's a credit to the Singapore Armed Forces, I suppose.
Janice is saying that the REI's meals taste good.
Okay, cool. I think, yeah, please guys make some recommendations because I've got kids who are really fussy about food. And, you know, even normal food they wouldn't want to take, right? So I'm not sure about packet food that's supposed to last forever. So definitely appreciate your recommendations.
REI even has emergency dehydrated ice cream.
Oh, really? Ice cream?
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but it's
not bad. So I see as there a number of recommendations from everybody here, which is super awesome. Janice is talking about Allstate Insurance having an item vault where you can store these pictures. She's done it for a bike and laptop. Sounds great. And then Daryl's making some recommendations on lightweight water filters. That sounds like a really good idea because then you can keep using them, right, in case the water supply goes off. You know, and then I think we have a few dried meals as well. MRE, not bad, Mr. Ng, thank you. And maybe if you can give us
They even have emergency bread.
Emergency bread, wow.
Yeah, it's dehydrated.
Awesome. Would you advise that we should look for some kind of school or something so we can get, you know, like a cluster of help services instead of trying to provide for ourselves in in our backyard.
At school?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out ways where, you know, I can take care of the family more easily without trying to, you know, prepare for all this food that I think I might need to consume in my backyard, right? Because
Right.
it sounds like a huge project of things to store, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, these sites sell like the kits that you can get at least as a backup.
Got it. Got it. Okay, we'll definitely go look at Mountain House, REI. Those looks like good links for food. I feel like we should just rehearse since, you know, SoCal just had their little jolt. Maybe it's a good awakening for wake up call for us in NorCal to test our food as well and to get prepared, right, for it.
Adrianna, I'm speaking kind of maybe on behalf of our former Consul General, Chin Hock Sing. He used to be a very strong advocate of getting involved with the NERT, or the neighborhood emergency response team. And he actually said he signed up in San Francisco to be receive training from the San Francisco NERT. Do you think you can speak anything about that?
I mean, I don't know about that specifically, but yeah, I think at nec24.com there are like ways you can, I guess, be part of it. But I haven't had any experience with it so far, but I can certainly look into that.
Probably
Great.
not a good time now to go for in-person training, but it looks like they had in the past had in-person training, which is free for individuals to learn, as they said, the basics of personal preparedness and prevention.
Right, yeah, that's a good idea.
Just sharing that link right now, but that looks also like a good response to Daryl's question. If there are courses offered by the city to prepare for citizens for emergencies, this looks like one of those options.
Yeah, so at the San Francisco Department of Emergency Management, they do have a training program, so I'll just paste the link here.
Great, thank you. Good links. So it's something for us to get prepared for, so at least we can all be a little bit more ready the next time something like this happens.
Yeah, maybe David Ho, you can invite people to volunteer to be NERT prepared, and then we have a network of Singaporean NERTs in the area.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think one of my colleagues did the program actually.
Yeah, you actually get a certificate.
Yeah, I think so. And let me ask her. I remember she went for first aid, I think.
Awesome.
I think NERT is actually suspended because of COVID right now, so we won't be able to sign up until they reinstate the program.
Got it. So we're sort of assembling our own thing here today, which is why this evening we have Adrianna helping us kind of get us at least up with emergency NERT training temporarily until we can.
I'm sure there are a lot of online courses as well.
It's good. Yes. And, you know, I think as a community, we also, thank you, Adrianna, and everyone for, you know, weighing in. We definitely should be studying these links. At the same time, I think we want to all stay connected as a team, right? And ensure that we are all plugged into different alerts and informing, for example, Singapore Council that we're okay. So I wonder if Hui Hui, if you can talk a little bit about ERegister or David or Daryl.
Okay, I'll just share a bit about ERegister. So ERegister is actually a MFA initiative for Singaporeans to stay connected when they register for like overseas travel. So it need not be, you know, you have to register with us when you're based here long term. It could also be when you're using it for like short-term trips to other countries, for example. And the purpose of this ERegister is mainly to stay in touch with you and to contact you if there is a need to disseminate information about the location where you have indicated where you will be during that period. And if there are like any emergencies, that is one way for us to actually reach out to you to, you know, disseminate the necessary information and how we can help you. So there is, it's really easy to just e-register with us by going on to the MFA website, and you can actually do so with your SingPass.
And just to supplement the usefulness of the e-register system, is to share an incident where there was actually a shooting in, if you recall, in Las Vegas about 2 years ago. It happened early in the morning, and because of the ERegister, we actually reached out and called all the Singaporeans who were registered with us, were staying in the area, just to check on them that they were okay. So this is the usefulness of being registered with MFA, so that we can connect with you and check that things are okay. That's the primary purpose of devising the system. Yep.
I've also just learned a few days ago that the SingPass app now stores and displays your O-level and A-level results, which is shocking.
It even has your passport details, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw some people saying they should store your NUS results and you don't have to pay for your transcripts.
Yes, so thank you. That's super helpful. And is that the primary way in which we are keeping in touch as well, ERegister? Is there anything else as well that we should be a part of, David, and Daryl and
Is there a Twitter feed for, I don't know, MFA?
There is a Twitter account for MFA, but it does not go into, like, you know, for example, country-specific information, because that's mainly for all overseas Singaporeans. So I would suggest that you might want to consider e-registering with us if you are going to be based in the US for, like, you know, work trip, or like, you know, you're based here long term, so we can reach out to you. So for instance, the most recent update that we sent out to Singaporeans who are based in the West Coast was actually on the wildfires. So from time to time, we will actually disseminate the useful information depending on the situation as well. That may be specific to your location.
Cool, I just signed up.
Great, thank you. So maybe if you guys can send out the links here, I will just send the ERegister link out in the window here so that we can all get registered, and maybe you can help us, I think, if we have any issues. And then David and crew, if you guys can help us ensure that we're on the right different alerts so that we can all be connected, that would be brilliant. And Adrianna, I think in your deck, you actually did share with us some different alerts, right, that we should be a part of. And if it's super hyperlocal, you mentioned, so the ones that you sent out and shared with us here today are mostly San Francisco links, but we should have them similar ones for San Jose and LA and the likes, right?
I think that's like an alert SCC for Santa Clara County.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Okay, so maybe we can come up with a little list that we can share with our community as well outside here. Perfect. Do you have a reference library, Adrianna, of all your sister sites and all the other cities, do you think? Do you guys keep that?
There are thousands of sites. So.
Thousands.
There are a lot of sites. So
Oh,
no, not right.
Got it, got it. So do we have any other questions from everyone here? From the team, I just want to make sure that we're giving everybody a chance to ask questions. Adrianna, this was super helpful. I think just seeing all the information laid out, right, for us, especially the different contact links. I think you had them for the ready.gov floods, earthquakes, wildfires. These are, I think, are the broader sort of guidelines, right, for what to do. And of course, Mark just highlighted the SEC Gov site as well for us to be alerted. And I do get these alerts on my cell phone, so I know they work, you know, and they actually are quite smart. They go by your, where your phone's registered in terms of your area code. So I was able to get some good connections there too. Yeah, it looks like Janice has some good advice to eat your old emergency supply and restock, right? So that's what she's going to be doing. Some food is expiring. That's very true, I'm guessing as well. We actually haven't started even stocking up because frankly, actually we did stock up tuna and all that, and we've gone through some of that, but we haven't been eating the latest cycle. And yes, Mark, good hint. Eat your old Prima Taste packets. Maybe we should eat the Prima Taste together with the old emergency food, so the food tastes better as well. All right. So looks like we don't have any more questions from the crew, but we do have a special that we'd like to have here for the crew here. And birthday. It's David's birthday. Everybody sing along. To you.
Happy birthday to David.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, David.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, thank you all for joining us here. Just as a quick roundup, thank you, David, for being with us and for rallying the community. And, you know, we really are excited to be celebrating with you, you know, through thick and thin, through this crazy period where we've had all sorts of emergencies. But I think, you know, we still have some joy and happy moments in between. So I hope you are going to have a great weekend here. I just, you know, as we wrap up this evening, I just want to do our usual roundtable, right, across the board here to see if anybody else has final kind of words of advice. Adrianna, any thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I just think that I'm a little bit concerned about what will happen with the elections, and so I'm also curious to know what we can expect if hits the fan and we have to go back home suddenly. So would Daryl have anything to suggest?
Are you talking about the Singapore elections, or are you talking about the American elections?
The American ones. I'm concerned about you know, MAGA people showing up and beating people up, which they're already doing in Portland.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. I suppose the advice would be, really pay close attention to what's happening within your vicinity. I'm sure, you know, keep abreast of developments and if need be, I mean, even in that case, you know, you may need to just hunker down and stay at home, like what you're doing for stay at home, HN anyway. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good advice and definitely a good question. I think that you know, keeping us all posted together, it helps. Daryl, Hui, any comments from MFA regarding emergency preparedness?
Firstly, Adrianna, thank you for being on the program twice. You know, this is your second appearance. And I think it's really apt, you know, that we talk about this issue of emergency preparedness. And I think the point that I want to underscore is really the real necessity for all of us to be prepared, you know, have a kit bag ready so that, you know, when things happen, they can happen very quickly. So it pays to be, it just pays to be prepared. Yeah, I think we should all be aware of that.
True. Yeah, you know, as I was telling David, right, I'm not just Kiasu, I'm also Kiasi. So this is actually perfect. We just need to be very prepared, especially when we're in a different environment and the environment keeps changing. The rules keep changing on us. So we have to be super flexible and agile, I believe. Super. Thanks, guys. And David, final words.
Thank you so much, Adrianna. As mentioned by Daryl, thank you for coming the second time round. I wanted to just mention that there are a few people who wanted to join us today, but they couldn't. So for those people who are here today, I hope we can spread the findings, what Adrianna was sharing to our friends and to other members of the community. Let them know about what they should do, how they should prepare themselves, and so on. I think the most important thing during this period of time is, again, the importance of the community. So we should really come together, help each other, let your friends know, ask them to e-register, ask them to pack their bags. And if there's anything, if touch wood, something does happen and they need help, feel free to reach out to us. I think we are all very accessible via the WhatsApp group channels. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think that's a great idea. In fact, David, one of the things I was thinking of doing as well was to have a packing day where, you know, we just spend some time together and ensure that we all pack for supplies, because it's oftentimes not that we don't know what to do, but it's difficult setting the time to do it. And then when it happens, it always seems too late, right? But I think just getting prepared or making recommendations for what to buy and just swapping notes so that we have the kit, that sometimes is super helpful. So maybe we can do that. We can organize a little packing day for our community one day. So lots of action items for you today, David, right? The mesh network, the packing day. I'm just having fun since it's your birthday, you know, like thinking of all the things that you could do in this new year as you get older and wiser, you know, like you have more things on you're able to deal with more responsibility now that you're older and wiser. Yeah. All right, thank you. And Mark, thanks for your feedback today on the different air quality monitors. We know you're a big pro in that area with your own Purple Air thing now. Any parting words from you too, from Singapore Connect?
I would like to just thank MFA team and David, SGN team, and Adrianna all for being part of this, because I think many of us overseas sometimes, especially in these times, can feel a little more alone, especially with this COVID-19 situation. And so to have your connection and have your help to make also the social connections to the others in the area, I think everyone should be encouraged to join the networks that David has set up. I believe he has set up some Slack city-specific or region-specific channels. So maybe get to know at least 2 other contacts like Adrianna mentioned in your area, and get to know them so that you can check on each another in an emergency and maybe, you know, offer some help or even lend some food or water, right? These are probably not necessary in good times, but you never know. An earthquake could happen anytime. Or something else.
Indeed.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. We're certainly happy to have Adrianna here with your advice. I think it's really helped us kind of think about different areas and of need that we have and our lack of preparedness, at least personally, my lack of preparedness. So thanks for helping us be more intentional and mindful about things that we need to do. Well, everyone, thank you again for joining us this evening. Indeed, let's keep in touch. And I'm really glad that we are all sort of, you know, the ones here are super conscious about what we need to do to be prepared. We need to pass the word on, as David said, and encourage others around us to stay connected and stay informed and be prepared too. Well, thanks again, everyone. Good night and have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully in some measure of safety. No more earthquakes this weekend. Take care. Bye, guys, and happy birthday again, David. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.